I'm Falco, and this video will change your life. Most people will leave in the first 3 minutes. They'll scroll away, searching for the next dopamine hit, the next quick fix. But if you stay until the end, if you have the discipline to absorb what I'm about to share, you'll outperform 99% of your peers. Here's what most people get wrong about power. They think it's loud. They think it's about chest thumping, about being the most aggressive person in the room, about dominating conversations and demanding attention. That's not power. That's insecurity wearing a mask. That's weakness pretending to be strength. Real power, the kind that makes people uncomfortable, the kind that shifts the energy in a room the moment you walk in, is quiet. It's controlled. It's dangerous precisely because it doesn't announce itself. Today, we are going deep into the psychology of the dangerous aura. This isn't about becoming a villain. This is about understanding the mechanics of respect, the architecture of influence, and the dark psychology that separates those who are walked over from those who walk through life on their own terms. We are going to cover 5 critical elements: stillness, strategic silence, unpredictability, the gaze, and the reframe. Each one is a weapon. Each one has been used by history's most powerful figures to control situations without ever raising their voice. If you've ever felt invisible, overlooked, or disrespected, if you've ever walked away from a conversation wondering why nobody took you seriously, this is your inflection point. This is where everything changes. Let's begin. The loud versus quiet paradox. There are 2 types of people in every room. The first type is loud, frantic, desperate for attention. They're shouting, gesturing wildly, trying to be the center of everything. The second type sits in the corner, completely still, observing, saying nothing. Which one has the power? Most people think it's the loud one. They're wrong. Aggression is a confession of weakness. When you're loud, when you're constantly trying to dominate the conversation, you're actually broadcasting your insecurity to everyone in the room. You're saying, "Please notice me. Please validate me. Please acknowledge that I matter." But the person who says nothing, the person who sits back, observes, and only speaks when it actually matters, that person owns the room. There's a concept in psychology called impression management. Most people try to manage their impression by adding more words, more gestures, more energy. But the masters? They manage impression by subtraction. They remove the noise. They become a signal in a world full of static. Think about the most powerful person you've ever met. I guarantee they weren't the loudest person in the room. They were the calmest. They had this quality, this gravitational pull, that made you want to lean in, to listen, to earn their attention. That quality is what we are building today. The dangerous aura isn't about intimidation through aggression. It's about creating psychological weight through presence. Let me give you a real-world example. In high-stakes negotiations, mergers, acquisitions, hostage situations, the person who controls their emotions controls the outcome. FBI negotiators are trained to use something called tactical empathy. But beneath that is a deeper principle. Whoever is less reactive has more power. When you react emotionally, you give away information. You show your hand. You reveal what matters to you, and in doing so, you create leverage for the other person. But when you remain still, when you listen more than you speak, when you let silence do the heavy lifting, you become a mystery. And mysteries are dangerous because people can't predict them. So here's the first principle. Loud is weak. Quiet is strong. Internalize that. Let it reshape how you show up in the world. Now let's go deeper. Let's talk about stillness. Stillness is one of the most underrated forms of psychological dominance. We live in a world that worships motion, constant activity, constant productivity, constant stimulation. But stillness? Stillness makes people deeply uncomfortable. Why? Because stillness signals control. It signals that you are not subject to the same anxieties, the same insecurities, the same need for validation that drives most people. When you are still, you are telling the world, "I am not in a hurry. I do not need to prove anything to you." And that is terrifying to people who are constantly seeking approval. Research from Princeton University found that people form judgments about your competence, trustworthiness, and dominance in as little as 1/10 of a second. 1/10 of a second. And what they're reading isn't your words, it's your non-verbal cues. Your posture, your movement, your energy. When you fidget, When you shift your weight, when you touch your face or cross your arms defensively, you are communicating insecurity. You are telling people that you're uncomfortable in your own skin. But when you are still, when every movement is deliberate, economical, purposeful, you communicate mastery. You communicate threat. Think about apex predators in nature. A lion doesn't pace. A crocodile doesn't fidget. They conserve their energy. They move only when necessary. And when they do move, it's with absolute purpose. Humans respond to the same signals. When you are still, you trigger a primal recognition in the people around you. They sense that you are not prey. You are a predator. Now, I'm not saying you should sit like a statue in every meeting. What I'm saying is this: master your body before you try to master the room. Eliminate unnecessary movement. Become aware of your fidgeting, your nervous tics, your self-soothing gestures. Replace them with deliberate stillness. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you're in a conversation, especially a high-stakes one, notice how much you move. Notice when you shift your weight, when you gesture without purpose, when you break eye contact out of discomfort. Then, consciously reduce those movements by 50%. Just that simple adjustment will change how people perceive you. Stillness isn't just physical. It's mental. When your mind is racing, when you're anxious about what to say next, worried about how you're being perceived, that anxiety leaks into your body language. But when your mind is calm, when you're fully present, your body naturally follows. This is why meditation, breathwork, and mindfulness practices aren't just wellness trends. They're strategic tools. They train you to find stillness in chaos. And that stillness becomes your competitive advantage. Think about Winston Churchill during the Blitz. Michael Jordan in the final seconds of a championship game. Navy SEALs in active combat. What do they all have in common? The ability to remain still, both internally and externally, when everyone else is losing their composure. Second principle: stillness is dominance. Chaos is submission. Now let's talk about what happens when you combine stillness with something even more powerful: strategic silence. Silence is a weapon, and most people have no idea how to use it. We are conditioned from childhood to fill silence, to answer questions immediately, to keep conversations flowing, to avoid those awkward pauses. But that conditioning? That's exactly what makes silence so powerful when you know how to deploy it. When you remain silent, especially in moments when people expect you to speak, you create psychological pressure. The other person doesn't know what you're thinking. They don't know if you agree, disagree, if you're judging them, if you're bored, if you're calculating. That uncertainty creates anxiety. And people will do almost anything to relieve that anxiety, including revealing information they never intended to share. This is interrogation 101. Law enforcement knows this. Intelligence agencies know this. Master negotiators know this. When a suspect is talking, you don't interrupt. You let the silence pull more information out of them. But silence isn't just for interrogations. It's for everyday interactions. Job interviews, salary negotiations, difficult conversations, leadership moments. Let me give you an example. You're in a meeting. Someone asks you a question. Maybe it's a challenge to your idea. Maybe it's a test to see how you'll react. The natural instinct is to immediately defend yourself, to explain, to justify. But what if you didn't? What if you just paused? What if you looked at them, said nothing for 3, 4, 5 seconds, and then responded with complete calm? That pause does several things. First, it shows you're not rattled. You're not in a hurry to prove yourself. Second, it makes the other person second-guess themselves. Did I say something wrong? Are they offended? What are they thinking? Third, it gives you time to craft a better response instead of reacting emotionally. Silence is control. When you control the silence, you control the conversation. Now, there's a dark side to this. And we need to address it because I'm not here to teach you to be manipulative. I'm here to teach you to be strategic. There's a difference. Strategic silence can be used to manipulate, to gaslight, to create doubt and insecurity in others for the purpose of control. That's not what we are doing here. What we are doing is learning to hold our ground, to not be pressured into speaking before we are ready, to not give away our power through nervous chatter. There's a concept in negotiation theory called BATNA, your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. The person with the better BATNA has more power. But there's another dimension. Whoever needs the conversation to continue less has more power. When you're comfortable with silence, when you're not desperate to fill the void, you signal that you don't need this conversation to go anywhere. You're fine either way. And that indifference, real or perceived, is magnetic. It makes people want to win you over, to get you to engage, to earn your words. Here's your third principle. Silence is leverage. Use it deliberately, not defensively. Let me give you 3 tactical applications. 1. The salary negotiation. When they give you an offer, don't respond immediately. Let the silence sit. They'll often sweeten the deal just to get you to say something. 2. The difficult conversation. When someone is emotional, angry, defensive, upset, don't match their energy. Stay silent. Let them vent. The silence will eventually calm them down because they'll run out of fuel. 3. The power play. When someone is testing you, challenging your authority or competence, a calm, silent stare does more than 1,000 words of justification ever could. But here's the caveat. Silence only works when it comes from a place of genuine calm. If you're silent because you're scared, people will sense it. If you're silent because you're trying to manipulate, people will sense it. But if you're silent because you genuinely have nothing to prove, because you're comfortable in your own power, that's when silence becomes dangerous. Now, let's combine stillness and silence with the element that makes both even more potent: unpredictability. Predictability is weakness. When people can predict you, they can control you. They know how you'll react, what you'll say, what you'll do. And once they know that, they can push your buttons, manipulate your responses, and stay 3 steps ahead of you. But unpredictability is chaos. And people fear chaos because they can't prepare for it. There's a reason why the greatest military strategists throughout history, Sun Tzu, Miyamoto Musashi, modern special operations commanders, all emphasize the element of surprise. It's not just about catching your opponent off guard. It's about eroding their confidence, making them question their assumptions, forcing them to operate in a state of constant uncertainty. When your opponent can't predict you, they can't strategize against you. They're always reacting instead of acting. And the person who's reacting is the person who loses. Now, in personal interactions, unpredictability doesn't mean being random or chaotic. It means breaking patterns. It means not always being the nice guy or the tough guy or the funny guy. It means showing range, depth, complexity. Most people are one-dimensional. They show up the same way every time. Same energy, same responses, same personality. And while consistency has its place, it also makes you boring, forgettable, easy to categorize and dismiss. But when you have range, when you can be warm and charming in one moment, cold and calculating in the next, you become impossible to pin down. People don't know which version of you they're going to get. And that uncertainty keeps them on their toes. Let me give you a concrete example. Let's say you're known as the person who never loses their cool. You're always calm, always measured, always diplomatic. That's great, until it becomes predictable. Because now people know they can push you, test you, disrespect you, and you won't push back. But what if, one time, you did? What if someone crossed a line and instead of your usual calm response, you delivered a cold, cutting remark that let them know exactly where the boundary is? Not aggressive, not emotional, just clear, sharp, and final. That single moment of unpredictability reframes everything. Now they don't know where the line is. Now they are careful. Now they respect the boundary because they know it exists and they know there are consequences for crossing it. This is what I call controlled volatility. You're not actually volatile. You're in complete control. But you're willing to show different facets of yourself depending on what the situation requires. Here's the dark psychology element. Unpredictability creates dependency. When people can't figure you out, they become obsessed with trying. They pay more attention to you. They analyze your words, your actions, your moods. They seek your approval because they're never quite sure if they have it. This is why the hot and cold dynamic is so psychologically powerful in relationships, romantic, professional, or otherwise. It's not healthy when it's manipulative, but it's undeniably effective because it exploits a fundamental aspect of human psychology. We pursue what we can't predict. Intermittent reinforcement.
random rewards and punishments create stronger behavioral patterns than consistent reinforcement. Slot machines work on this principle. So do toxic relationships. But you can use this understanding ethically by simply not being an open book, by maintaining mystery, by not always being available, not always being agreeable, not always being what people expect. Your fourth principle: predictability is captivity. Unpredictability is freedom. Here are 3 ways to cultivate strategic unpredictability.
1. Vary your response patterns. If you always respond to emails immediately, occasionally wait. If you always agree in meetings, occasionally push back. Break your own patterns deliberately. 2. Control your reveals. Don't share everything. Don't explain all your reasoning. Let people wonder. Let them fill in the gaps with their imagination. It'll usually be more impressive than the truth. 3. Show range. Be capable of warmth and coldness, humor and seriousness, generosity and boundaries. The more dimensions you show, the less predictable you become. But remember, unpredictability without competence is just chaos. You need to be excellent at what you do. You need to deliver results. The unpredictability is the seasoning, not the meal. Now let's talk about the nonverbal element that ties all of this together: the gaze. Eye contact is the most powerful nonverbal tool you possess, and most people use it completely wrong. They either avoid it entirely, staring at the floor, the ceiling, their phone, or they overdo it to the point of aggression, creating discomfort instead of respect. The dangerous aura requires a different kind of eye contact. I call it the predator's gaze. Think about how a lion looks at its prey. There's no aggression in the eyes, no anger, just absolute focus. Calm, assessing. The lion isn't emotional about the hunt, it's simply executing. That's the energy you want. Not aggressive eye contact that screams, "I'm trying to intimidate you." But calm, unflinching eye contact that says, "I see you. I'm not afraid of you. And I'm not looking away first." Studies on primate hierarchies show that sustained eye contact is a dominant signal. The subordinate looks away first. The alpha maintains the gaze. This translates directly to human interactions. When you break eye contact first, especially in a tense or competitive situation, you signal submission. But when you maintain calm, neutral eye contact without aggression, you signal confidence and dominance. There's a technique I teach called the triangle method. Instead of staring directly into someone's eyes the entire time, which can feel aggressive, you move your gaze in a slow triangle: left eye, right eye, mouth. This keeps the eye contact strong but natural. It prevents you from coming across as aggressive while still maintaining presence. But here's the key: your eyes must match your internal state. If you're anxious, intimidated, or trying too hard, it'll show in your eyes no matter what technique you use. Your eyes will dart, your pupils will constrict, you'll blink too much. But when you're genuinely calm, when you've done the internal work to cultivate real confidence, your eyes become steady. They become windows into your composure. Let me give you a practical drill. Tomorrow, in every conversation you have, make it a point to be the last person to break eye contact. Not in an aggressive way, just calmly maintain the gaze for 1 second longer than feels natural. Notice what happens. Notice how people react. Notice how it changes the dynamic. Most people will look away. And in that moment, you've established a subtle dominance hierarchy. They'll respect you more, often without even realizing why. But the gaze isn't just about dominance. It's also about reading people. When you maintain eye contact, you see micro-expressions that reveal what people are really thinking and feeling. You catch the flicker of doubt, the flash of anger, the moment of calculation. This is why poker players watch eyes. This is why negotiators watch eyes. The eyes leak information that words conceal. Your fifth principle: the gaze is the gateway. Control it, and you control the interaction. But there's one more element we need to cover. The philosophy that makes all of this sustainable, ethical, and truly powerful: the reframe. Everything I've taught you today, stillness, silence, unpredictability, the gaze, can be weaponized. It can be used to manipulate, to dominate, to control others for selfish gain. But that's not power. That's just being a sophisticated bully. Real power, the kind that lasts, the kind that builds empires and legacies, comes from a different place. It comes from detachment. The Stoics understood this. The Buddhists understood this. The greatest strategists throughout history understood this. You cannot be truly powerful if you are attached to outcomes, to approval, to winning. When you need to win, you've already lost. Because now you're desperate. Now you're predictable. Now you can be manipulated by anyone who understands what you need. But when you're detached, when you're outcome independent, you become unmanipulatable. You become free. And that freedom is what creates the dangerous aura. This is the paradox of power. The less you need it, the more you have it. When you don't need people to like you, they're drawn to you. When you don't need to win every argument, you win the ones that matter. When you don't need to prove yourself, your competence becomes self-evident. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the reframe. Everything I've taught you today is about controlling your internal state so powerfully that it shapes your external reality. You're not manipulating people. You're mastering yourself. And when you master yourself, people respond to that mastery. So here's your final principle, the one that makes all the others work. Detachment is the foundation. Everything else is just technique. Cultivate detachment through daily practice. Meditation. Journaling. Physical training. Whatever grounds you and reminds you that your worth isn't dependent on any single interaction, any single outcome, any single person's opinion. When you have that foundation, the dangerous aura isn't something you put on, it's something you are. Let's recap the 6 principles of the dangerous aura. 1. Loud is weak. Quiet is strong. 2. Stillness is dominance. Chaos is submission. 3. Silence is leverage. Use it deliberately. 4. Predictability is captivity. Unpredictability is freedom. 5. The gaze is the gateway. Control it, and you control the interaction. 6. Detachment is the foundation. Everything else is just technique. If you made it this far, you're already different. 99% of people won't invest 30 minutes into understanding themselves and how they show up in the world. But you did. That decision, that investment, is the first step toward building real power. Now comes the hard part, implementation. Everything I've shared with you today is useless unless you practice it. Unless you go into the world and test these principles. Unless you're willing to be uncomfortable as you break your old patterns and build new ones. Here's what I want you to do this week. Day 1 to 2. Observe yourself. Notice your fidgeting, your nervous talking, your need to fill silence. Just observe. No judgment. Day 3 to 4. Reduce movement by 50%. In every conversation, consciously move less. Notice how it changes how people respond to you. Day 5 to 6. Practice strategic silence. In at least 3 conversations, pause for 3 to 5 seconds before responding to questions. Notice the shift in power dynamics. Day 7. Integrate. Put it all together. Stillness. Silence. Unpredictability. The gaze. Go into a challenging situation and deploy everything you've learned. The dangerous aura isn't about being feared. It's about being respected. It's about moving through the world with such clarity, such presence, such self-mastery that people instinctively recognize you as someone who cannot be pushed around, cannot be manipulated, cannot be dismissed. That's the life that's waiting for you on the other side of this work. If this resonated with you, if you're serious about this transformation, leave a comment below with the word aura. I read every comment, and I want to know you're in this. Subscribe if you haven't already. This is just the beginning. We are building something powerful here. And remember, the world doesn't respond to who you are. It responds to who you show up as. Show up dangerous.